Hi, everybody. This is Roland Pruitt, and this is my Kaiju review show. We are having technical difficulties again, but I swore to, by gosh, we were going to get this show on the air this time because we had to postpone it last week. This is episode 21. We're going to do Godzilla versus Hedorah, or Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. That's the English version, and I kind of like it. The timeline we're going to do is going to be the Japanese version of the film, so there's going to be Japanese on the screen. I hope you can read it. So without further delay, before we get into this, let me bring up my team, as we like to call them. Let's bring up Anastasia and Professor Walnut.
Thank
Hello.
you. It's good to be here. At first I thought this was American film because of Smog Monster. I think of Hollywood and Los Angeles. So I thought we were just going to be talking about pollution in the city of angels. I'm very surprised. This is like,
That reminds me of an old knock knock joke. Knock knock.
who is there?
UCLA.
UCLA? Who?
UCLA when the smog clears. Thank you, folks.
Oh, that's beautiful. I
Thanks
like
for
it. I
setting
have
me up.
He'll
knock knock. We only
he'll
have
be here all week.
we only have one knock knock joke in my region of world. I'll tell you it. It's knock knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?
KGB.
KGB who?
We will be asking the questions. Shut up.
All right. Well, I dig it.
It's the only one we have. It's the only one.
I'm going to show you my shirt I got just for this show. Oh, I got to take it the other way, over the other breast. It's Hedorah, the Smog Monster, and I got it in gray, of course, because he's kind of he's kind of gray and goopy, and yeah. So this is a very different kind of Godzilla movie. It was directed by Yoshimitsu Banno. This was the only Godzilla film that he actually directed. Tomoko Tanaka, who was the, I think I said that name wrong. Anyway, who was the producer of the Godzilla films, hated this film so much. And we'll talk about why a little later on. But this was the time when they were really starting to market to kids. They had done Destroy All Monsters, then Godzilla's Revenge, and again it was kind of the Ultraman phase. Ultraman was the biggest thing on TV at the time, on up into the mid 70s. So they really wanted to market to kids, and this film really has some very intense graphic scenes. I remember when I watched it as a kid, I was traumatized because of what Hedorah could do to you, and they showed it, all of it. So it was pretty nasty. And we're going to get into that. Let's go ahead and go to the timeline. Sorry about that, Professor.
Oh, that's all right. Where's my? There it is.
There it is. Of course, is the logo for Toho, and we get Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Or the Smog Monster, as it's known.
Yeah, Godzilla versus Smog Monster was the English title, and I think they call him Hedorah in the English version, but it's actually Hedorah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, Banno wanted to get the message across about pollution, and even though his film was not liked by a lot of people, the message did get across because they did clean up. We've all cleaned up since the 1970s, I think, trying our best to keep the planet, clean. So we've got some very graphic images here of pollution in the water. And there's our actress who sings "Save the Earth." This was actually recorded as "Save the Earth," I'm sorry, in America, in the English version. It's very hard to find a copy of that. You can on the internet. You can find it. Professor, you did not like this song, did you? You did not, really?
I liked it the first time I heard it in the opening credits, but when you hear it 3 or 4 times, it's like it's the only song they have.
It's annoying.
And yeah, it gets a bit annoying and a bit cloying, and it's like, Okay, I think we've got the point. They're
Again,
trying to.
Bano kind of shoved the point down our throats throughout the entire movie.
Yes, yes, it was a little. It got to be a little much. I thought the getting the words stuck in your throat song was bad in one of our other films, but
Well,
yeah,
that was because it was sung badly. It's not a bad song. If you listen to the not the B-52s, Devo. If you listen to Devo's version of it, it's actually a pretty cool song. But she just was not a good singer. But she was the producer's wife, so so there it is. This is actually, and again, sometimes they have a singer in the actual opening credits for a movie. This is, I believe this is Kaiko Mari. She's playing the character Miki Fujiyama. She's a dancer in a go-go club. What's really strange is I guess she puts a wig on for that because she's got long hair when she does the dance in the club, and then she has this short hair for the rest of the film. In this scenes, and later when she, like the next day when she shows up, the hair's gone. It's like, hey, man, what happened? And that's never explained. So there's a lot of that going on in this film.
There are a lot of things that are never explained in this particular
There is
film.
a scene where Godzilla looks like he's dying, completely dying. Then they cut to something else, or they cut back, and he's back on his feet, and he's fighting Hedorah again. And there's no explanation as to how he got out of it. We'll talk about that when we get there. So anyway, yeah, director Bano had his own kind of way of doing this, and it just didn't match up right with Toho. This is a fisherman. His name is Gohai, and he brings in this kind of giant tadpole thing that looks kind of icky. And there is a monster actually wrecking ships out in the ocean there off the coast of Japan. So I'm sorry, my throat. I don't know what's going on with my throat right now. But I got a phlegm thing going on. I think I got a little Smog Monster in my throat.
Oh no! Oh dear!
Got a little Hedorah in my throat.
A little head. Oh, you don't want that.
And words get stuck in my throat. Save the earth. There we go. We should do a medley.
Yes, quite.
The words get stuck in my throat. Save the earth. Anyway.
Yes. And we're also introduced to this little boy who becomes rather important.
He is in this film. He was an actor in Ultraman, and he was so good that they used him in a lot of stuff. And his name in this is Ken Yano. He's played by Haruki Kawase. Haruyuki Kawase. And of course, this is 71, so he's all grown up now. He's an old man now. He's as old as this fisherman now. Yeah, he's playing with his Godzilla toys at the beginning of the film. That's when the fisherman comes in and shows his dad, who is a scientist. He's a doctor. He's a scientist named Toro Yano. He's played by Akira Yamanouchi. This is the only Toho film he did. I guess he was a friend of Bono's, and he did this film. And when I say Bono now, I think of you too. I'm sorry. He was a friend of Bono's. They sang together. He used to jam. I don't know why I went there. Anyway, so there's this guy that comes around their house, and he is Yukio Koichi, and he's like I don't know how to describe him. He's just like a young guy that hangs out with the doctor and his family. And later on, we find out that he is hanging out in a nightclub at night, drinking himself into stupor. But he seems like a really nice, clean-cut young guy here when he's hanging out with the family and eating with them and watching the news with them. And they're watching news shows about Hedorah. So there it is. And Ken, being a very smart young lad, and believe me, he is very irritating in the English version of this film, but he's more likable in the Japanese version. He's more like a normal kid. because I think they got like an adult actress to do his voice or something in the American version, and it's just terrible. And the same thing happened. He's the same kid that's in Megalon, I believe, Godzilla versus Megalon, and the same thing happened. You just hate him in the American version, the English edit dub, but you're okay with him in the Japanese version. But anyways, he's like, "Daddy, that looks like a tadpole." So, out of the mouths of babes.
Yes, it's like that. They instructed the voice actor just shout all your dialogue. That's all right. Yes, it's very, very annoying.
Baba. So, the doctor decides he's going to do a little scuba mission out into the water there off the coast of Japan to see if he could see something that might help him decide or discover what this thing is. So Ken is out there with him, and when he goes under the water, the Smog Monster shows up, Hedorah, and it jumps over Ken, and Ken actually cuts it with a knife. He puts a knife up. He's got like a Rambo knife. And we talked about this before the episode. Dr. Yano and his wife are not great parents. That's what you were saying to me.
Yes.
And I was like, what do you mean? And now I'm starting to see it firsthand as we go through the timeline. The kid has got a Rambo knife. He's like
got
7.
a Rambo knife. He's unsupervised for most of this film. Also, okay, he cuts this thing open. You think something would drip out of that, guts or something, but I know it's all made up.
Burns his hand, yeah.
It does burn his hand, so yes.
Yeah, there is a kind of an acidy kind of thing, but the thing is moving so fast over him, it just slices him open, and again, he gets a little of the stuff on his hand. Mm-hmm. So the monster goes back out in the ocean where the dad is, the doctor, and the doctor sees him coming, but there's just really nowhere to go. So Hedorah splats him, squatches his face. So we had like a really intense scene where, Ken is on the shore and his dad hasn't come up, and he's like, "Baba!" And he's just yelling out and he's crying, and it's very intense. And we never see the father come up above the ocean. We just see the next scene where he's in bed and he's got a big bandage on he's got a big like acid burn on his face. He's like the Phantom of the Opera. And there's news people. We never get to see the scene of how he got out of the ocean and got home and got to the hospital or whatever, and he should be in a hospital with an acid burn that bad.
I feel like there were things that just simply were cut out of this film. You're right. Why is he not in the hospital? Who got him out? Was it the young fellow? Because this little boy, I don't think would have dragged him out. Did he just wash up on shore? On shore.
It would have been nice if he washed up on shore. That would have been a nice little moment. But anyway, I think what happened here is that the budgets for these films were getting lower and lower and lower and lower.
Yes.
So they shot it like a TV show. Mm-hmm. And again, there's a lot of Godzilla fight footage, him and Hedorah battling. The last 30 minutes of this movie is just him fighting Hedorah out there by Mount Fuji. Mm-hmm. Not in a city, by the way, where they could destroy stuff. I think there's only one. No, I take that back. There's 2. There's 2 scenes where they fight in a city. And again, the second one, the first one is by the dock, by the water. So it's a very easy set. The second one is the typical. They did this in like 100 of these films. They did like a oil refinery kind of set where they could fight, and it doesn't require a lot of buildings. So anyway, I think Bano was basically like, okay, well, we can't shoot that because we don't have the money for it. Let's just hope that they don't notice. I think it's one of those deals.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we noticed.
What we noticed. So there you go. You gotta give them a budget. Give them something to work with. So anyway, they got the TV. Remember those old little turn dial TVs from the 70s?
Oh yes.
put it a little 12-inch, put it next to the bookcase. Anyway, they showing more pictures of Hedorah, being photographed, jumping out of the water and that kind of thing. And this is kind of leading us up to, here's another thing. In some cases, there was cartoons, like children's cartoons of Hedorah and of the pollution and, trying to get the message across in that way. And I guess that was cheaper. So this was kind of weird. This is the only Godzilla movie that I know of where they have cartoons.
Yes.
Specific to the characters.
Suddenly it becomes a Monty Python movie with animation.
Terry Gilliam did the animation. No.
Yeah. But it's I do have to say though, despite how silly all this is with the animation, it's actually pretty good. It's good animation. It gets the point across. Here's Hedorah drinking, I presume, oil directly from the oil tankers.
Yeah.
And the clouds of smoke from the factories. And then we get Godzilla.
And then Godzilla shows up. Now, what this is because it's lit this way, what it is him coming over the horizon in Ken's dream. Ken is dreaming about Godzilla coming and saving the day. And he writes about it to his class. Yeah. As a kid would do at that age, they have heroes and they write about them in class and stuff. So there's Godzilla coming to save the day. Go ahead.
Sorry. I do have to say, this is actually my favorite scene in this entire movie, is this little dream sequence, or this shot specifically of Godzilla backlit by the sun. It's great.
It's an excellent shot. It really is. It's an iconic Godzilla shot. It really is. That's why I put 3 of them there in this line. I could have just done one, So there's the pollution again. So how's Godzilla going to fight the pollution? Well, he's going to zap it with his atomic breath, of course, and make it radioactive. Again, they never mention Godzilla's radioactivity anymore. It's not even a plot point anymore. No, he just zaps it with his quote fire breath. Don't say atomic. And there's Ken dreaming. Godzilla's burning all up the trash for us. His father can't sleep, and he decides to do a little experimentation. He wants to see the tadpole. He pulls the tadpole out, and it's dried up, and it's become like charcoal. I think they carved this out of charcoal.
I think so.
And he puts a little, like slimy water on it, like sewer water, and it comes back to life as little tiny tadpoles again. Each little piece wants to come together and make a bigger tadpole, a bigger creature. Okay, this is a plot point. This is something to be aware of. He is growing, and again, if a piece of him breaks off, it can grow into another Hedorah, and it usually comes together, and they can continue to grow, that kind of thing. So it is a kaiju that could grow so big, that it can envelop the earth, maybe, whatever. So we see Hedorah come out of the ocean in this scene, off on a little dock there, and we go to the Wild Club. Psychedelic backgrounds, and this actually kind of gives the movie kind of a money shot, if you will. It looks like there's a lot more production value with this big scene, and there really probably wasn't a lot of money gone into it. Extras, and put some bubbles on the wall and take a rear projection screen and put a psychedelic scene on it, and wow, look at that. It's impressive. So there she is. Did I say Yukio? No. Miki. There's Miki, and she's dancing, and Yukio is down there getting soused. And God knows what else he's doing, because he's going to be hallucinating in a minute. You guys are going to freak out when you see what he hallucinates. So Hedorah climbs up on the top of some stacks spouting out, filth and smoke, and he's sucking it in. He's sucking it all in like he's smoking. Like, hey, it's a hookah.
Right.
But this is dirty, nasty ass smoke, and he's just filling up with it. Meanwhile, a regular from these movies, Wataru Omai gets a cameo as a police officer going, "What do you mean Hedorah's on land? He's a sea monster. Get out of here." And that's his bit. He's the police saying, "I don't believe you." And then Godzilla shows up. Now, the music in this is not by Akira Ifukube. They couldn't afford him. It's not by Maro Sato. They couldn't afford him, I guess. So they got this other guy. And he's got this. Somebody described it on the internet as a quacking theme song, which I like because it goes, "Bwah, bwah, bwah." Here comes Godzilla.
On reflection, I know I said that I didn't like the theme song. Actually, this is even worse. I'm like, what? How is this Godzilla's theme? It makes
we go from silly. The ominous dun 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 to bwah, bwah, bwah. Now, this guy also did the soundtrack for the next movie, Godzilla vs. Megalon, and he likes to use things like Jew's harp and banjo in his music, which is totally out of place. But anyway, again, I just had to talk about the theme song because it really is annoying to me.
Yes.
So anyway, Godzilla comes up on shore and he's doing this thing where he wipes his mouth and like spits on whoever he's throwing it at. And Hedorah is not liking being stomped away, ushered away from the city. So he jumps on Godzilla. And he tries to, uck him up with a bunch of gray muck. But he's not totally there yet as far as he becomes more toxic as the film goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very clear because sometimes he's going to fly over people in a minute. And when that happens, I'm sorry, I got something in my eye. I got a little heater in my eye.
Oh, dear.
Hedorah.
You got Hedorah on your throat. Now you got it in your eye.
Now in my eye. He's taken over. And the first set of people that he flies over, they just kind of choke some. Then the next set of people he flies over, they completely disintegrate. There's like acid in the air. He's like acid rain kind of thing. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Here's a bunch of guys playing mahjong, which is kind of they're Godzilla spinning Hedorah around, and they're spinning the tiles around on the table. A little symbolism there. And then a little Hedorah splats against the window, and they're like, huh? And then a big piece of Hedorah crashes through the window and fills the room with this goopy, gooey, nasty pollution. Gah. And that's pretty graphic for a kid's movie. I'm sorry. Poor guys just died here. And they weren't hurting anybody. They were just playing mahjong. Shh, don't tell anybody. And they end up like that because, hey, we got to watch the pollution, everybody. So I'm glad he got his message across, but wow. Yeah, that's pretty intense for a kid to watch. I remember that I won't say traumatized, but it made an impact on me. It had an effect on me. I was like, wow, that's gross.
Yeah.
Go back to the club. And Miki is singing Save the Earth Now. And Yukio is getting more and more plastered. I think he took something between these takes. Between the time when Godzilla was fighting Hedorah and we come back to the club, I think he maybe did some tabs or something. Because he looks up and she's got a fish head. fish head, roly-poly fish heads. And he looks over, and everybody that's dancing has these gnarly fish heads on, too. So he's flipping out. He's freaking right now.
Yep. It's not a party until people. It's not a party until everybody has fish heads. It's not a party until everybody has fish heads.
Fish heads. So then, to make matters worse, he doesn't know if it's real or not. A big piece of Hedorah comes sliding down the staircase, down the entranceway. Miki is terrified. She screams, and we see a little tiny little kitty cat. He's all slobbered up with Smog Monster goo on the stairs. And that's a real cat, folks. It's not an animatronic, or it's not CGI. They didn't do CGI back then. That's a real cat that they mucked up.
Now, here's a question. Here's a question. Where did the cat come from? Why was there a cat?
He must have ran down the staircase just before the slime came down. Or the slime brought it with him.
Maybe so.
He was outside the front of the club, and the slime just brought him down the staircase with it. And then when the slime went away, the cat was left on the staircase. Meow!
Yeah.
Meow!
True.
Cat saying, I hate this! Why did you do this to me?
And also, we just saw the Hedorah slime take out this room full of men.
Yes.
But the cat survives.
He must have covered his face with his paw.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, Hedorah! Hedorah! That's a good point. One of the guys, I think there was a lot more slime. No, I guess not, because there was enough slime to slide down a staircase. No, I guess not. So again, maybe the cat was just lucky and just managed to coast on the top of the slime. Although we didn't see him come in on the top of the slime, but we see him when it goes out. I really don't have an answer for you, except that Bono just kind of wanted this. He said, wait a minute, I have another idea. Let's put a cat on the staircase that he's gummed up with gooey, crappy slime. I think that's probably what happened.
The kids will love that. Kids love cats, don't they?
Here, even better yet, let's kill the cat. No, you can't kill it. Cat, this is a kid's film. What are you doing? Okay, all right, we won't kill the cat. Getting ahead of myself. I'm tickling myself. Okay, what are we looking at here?
The two young people run off. They get in the car.
Oh, yeah. They run out.
He sobered up very quickly.
Yes. Luckily, he's not driving. Miki is. God knows what she's on. You saw her how she was dancing. So she's driving.
That would have been some great. That would have been some. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting. That would have been some great dialogue. You know. Do you see what I see? Are you looking at this? You mean the big giant monsters?
Are you really seeing?
Are they real? But they didn't do that.
They missed a golden opportunity. Oh, you see it too? Oh shit, man! I thought it was just those tabs I did. They probably couldn't have gotten away with that dialogue at that time, even though probably. At that time it was true. Again, late 60s, early 70s, and there's a lot of drug use going on. So anyway, they watch Godzilla zap Hedorah with his breath. And, actually, he slams him down on the ground first, and Hedorah kind of pees himself. Kind of leaks toxic waste. It just kind of starts pouring out from under him, which I thought was kind of gross. Hedorah's a gross monster. He really is.
Yes.
So Godzilla fires at him with his atomic breath, and there's kind of like an electronic spark reaction kind of thing. And obviously it hurts Hedorah. He's not liking it. And Godzilla, stomps on the ground, and Hedorah, jumps back into the sea.
Kind of, I suppose we're supposed to think this is sort of like, getting ahead of myself. Oh dear.
Oh
boy.
Yeah.
Oh. What the heck am I doing? It kind of, I guess, you're not supposed to put metal inside a microwave.
Yeah.
Because it'll do that, and we find out that that Hedorah is part metal.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of components. He's got all kinds of components in him. He's got sulfur. He's got different elements in him. And we'll talk about that later when the professor gives his kind of hypothesis on what Hedorah is. But yeah, that's a great analogy about the microwave. That's really cool. I never thought about that. That's really interesting.
Well, I am a professor.
There you go. So that's why we have you here. So Godzilla goes out in the ocean. Godzilla jumps out in the ocean, starts firing his breath out there to make sure he stays away. Godzilla saved the day. Yay! More cartoons showing these factories picking out plant life when it grows, killing it. And then we see the news report showing all the corrosion in that area that Hedorah and Godzilla were fighting in. And the professor's like, that's interesting. I'm really, this film really showcases his wife a lot. She's a very loving wife. She's always telling him, hey, you should be resting, she's a very caring wife. And that really comes through in this. Mm-hmm. Terrible mother. but she's a good wife.
Good wife.
Maybe she didn't want to have kids. The American version, Mom, I definitely understand. Hey, mother, are we gonna have dinner now? There he is in the back seat. Hey, everybody, I'm the president. I'm going to yell at you now. Hey, that's kind of cute. You're yelling. So they take him out. Yukio and Miki, who now has short hair, takes him out to the docks there where they can kind of look around and see where, what they see. And little Ken finds some Hedorah pieces all dried up. And, he's the one that brings his father to that. So they go back to the house with some of that, and the professor runs his tests on it. And sure enough, it's the same situation. Hedorah dries out, but can be brought back, basically. If you don't dry him out completely, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, they tell him. Miki tells him, yeah, we saw when Godzilla shot him with his, it was like a microwave. She didn't say that. I would remember that if she said that. But yeah, a great analogy. And she said there were sparks all over the place. And he's like, okay. So he's thinking, hey, maybe I should zap this thing with electricity and see what that does to it. Also, they're looking at his microscope and he's saying, yeah, you see those yellow streaks are sulfur. You see this? This is this. This is this. He's got all kinds of elements of the earth in him that have come together, but how did they come together? That's the thing. How did all these things come together to form a living being and to be so corrosive? He's explaining why it's so corrosive, I guess. So they're all listening very intently, including the statue. And then he finally comes out with this hypothesis. He thinks that Hedorah is a space creature that kind of hitched a ride on a comet or something to Earth or a meteor. And its makeup, its being can actually, thrive on pollution and get larger and bigger and that kind of thing. So the kids decide to go to Wally World. And Ken, we find out Ken can see Godzilla. He's when things get like when the shit goes down. Excuse my language, but this is not for kids, folks. Ken actually is kind of has a kind of ESP where he can sense when Godzilla's coming. And he sees Godzilla when he's on the roller coaster there, and he's like, "I just saw Godzilla!" And then he jumps out of the roller coaster and hauls Boogie, and they're like, "Hey, Ken, we're supposed to watch you." He runs off. He's gonna go call Dad, and I would be spanking the crap out of that kid for leaving me like that. Anyway, so he calls his father, and a big explosion happens at a nearby gas refinery, and Ken is luckily not hurt in the explosion, even though all the glass in the telephone booth he's in. Remember telephone booths, folks? No? Okay. Long before mobile phones, we had landlines, and some of those landlines were outside, and you could use them to call people if you didn't have a phone readily available. Telephone booth. Anyway, all this, the glass of the telephone booth, which most telephone booths, that's what they mostly are glass, shatters around Ken. And he decides to go run off and go to his mom, who's a teacher. She's a PE teacher at a local school there. But here's the thing. Ken is on the phone with his father. His father hears the explosion, and he's like, Ken? And the kid doesn't answer him, I don't think. He just runs off.
Yeah.
So the father, if I was the father, I'd be like, oh my God, my son just died. But again, not explained.
No. How do I reverse this? I also have another question.
Okay.
for most, almost like the last half of this movie, the professor is bedridden. And
yes.
Again, there's no explanation as to why. We saw him doing the little experiments and everything, and then for the rest of it, he's like, I'm in bed. It's like, why?
Well, here's why you're asking that question. Okay? Because obviously he got up to do his experiments. Obviously he got up to go out to the docks. And his wife was there with him. But in the last 30 minutes of the film, he's in a bed in the back of the car.
Yes, exactly.
So that's your question. Why the hell did they put him in a bed in the back of the car? We know why he's in bed at home, because his wife is telling him you need to rest. Understood. Got that. But why the hell put him in a bed in the back of the car? That's a little too much.
Yes.
So anyway, Ken's mother is teaching PE outside. Lucky. And I asked myself for the longest time, why did she not disintegrate and become a skeleton like people in the later scene here? And there's two reasons. One, Hedorah does not fly directly over these people. He flies over the building behind them. So two, Hedorah actually inhales more smoke fumes, and he actually sucks up some cars and other garbage that makes him more toxic, I think. That's my hypothesis, whatever it's worth. Anyway, he flies close by, and the girls are all, and they all go down. And the mother, who's at the front of the class, she doesn't really feel anything wrong with her throat until she goes to the area where these girls are, which is several feet away. And she starts to cough when she starts to help them up, and then they run into the school. Why the school doesn't collapse on top of them because of all the corrosiveness, I don't know. But anyway, I guess they don't want to kill the mom. That was not in the script. No. So they go inside, and then again, there's a big oil refinery. The father is still in bed, not outside looking for his son, who might have died. I'll just watch some TV. Maybe his dead body will show up on TV. He's still in bed watching TV. Ken? He's okay. Turn on the news. There's no remotes in that time. I'm sorry. He's got to get up and change the channel.
Right, just start watching.
Okay, so all right, so yeah, we're harping on the father in the bed a little too much. Then we get to Mickey, who's in her car, and of course, Yukio's with her, and the car won't go. And she's like, well, that's peculiar. And she looks up on the windshield, and some sludge is coming down the windshield, like at the beginning of a James Bond movie when he shoots at the eye or at the gun barrel and the blood comes down. Anyway, she jumps over into Yukio's lap, and he's like, all right, finally. He's been waiting for this. He really has. But they got to move fast because obviously Hedorah is on top of their car. So they get out of the car just in time because Hedorah's body sucks up all those cars into him, and then Godzilla shows up. So Hedorah flies by, does a flyby, does a maverick by Godzilla there. And the first time he does it, Godzilla catches him and throws him down to the ground. But then he comes back, uses his toxic air jet thing to fly again, and Godzilla can feel it in the throat this time, kind of like me right now. Ah! So Godzilla goes down. He cannot breathe. His giant Godzilla lungs are filling up with Hedorah smog. So Hedorah flies away. He flies directly over a group of people, and we get the most gruesome scene in this movie, which I'm going to show in great detail. This guy, now they could have stopped right here with his face turning bluish or greenish, and then that's it. It's done. We get it. He's decomposing very quickly. But then they did this thing, this Doctor Who thing, where they kind of do like a what do they call that?
Like
film.
a negative,
negative,
film.
Negative, positive kind of silly thing. They do this also in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla with the ape guys, their faces when they change. And I don't get it. I mean, just show the effect, let the effect be the effect, and move on. Why do the electrical, psychedelic bullshit? Anyway, so the kid, Ken, comes running up. Luckily, he didn't run in there 30 seconds earlier. Otherwise, he'd have been a little kid skeleton in a little tight shorts. By the way, this kid's shorts, nobody should let their kids wear that. Anyway, he comes across these cadavers that used to be, neighbors. And I didn't even show the full shot. There's this woman's dress is actually stuck to the wall by Hedorah goop, but her skeleton went down to the ground with a little piece of the dress. Anyway, so Ken obviously is traumatized and runs the other way, which any kid would do. And of course, we as kids, if we're watching this at age 7 or 8, we're traumatized now too, because we've seen it. And we actually saw what Ken didn't see, which was the decomposition. He just comes across the skeleton bodies. Anyway, this is an interesting scene. Hedorah flies through, I don't know how, but he flies through a construction, a building. You can see that all those are connected, right? This construction building. This guy screams and jumps to his death because he doesn't want to ride on a Hedorah, I guess, or a Hedorah. So you can see him falling there just under Hedorah. And somehow Hedorah makes it through the building, the connected building, and there's his bones. Man, he decomposed a lot faster than those other people. I'm telling you right now, like split second. So Hedorah makes it through the building without crashing, but the building decomposes as like the bodies very quickly and crumbles. That's how corrosive he is now. And the news, they're talking about, the area that he's affected and how terrible it is there with the air and the corrosiveness. And the mother is cleaning out Ken's face. Not sure why. But okay, there it is. Cleaning out his throat, I can understand, just like her throat. But yeah. So anyway, he's talking to his dad, and he's talking about how the people disintegrated into skeletons and stuff, and the dad's like, I'm glad I stayed in bed. What are you gonna do?
By the way, son, congratulations for surviving the explosion.
I'm glad you're alive, son. I had to watch the news. Now, Yukio is not the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree because he's decided, hey, let's protest Hedorah by going out to Mount Fuji and having like a little love-in kind of thing, like a Woodstock outside where Hedorah can get to us. And you know what? We're going to light fires too. Now, the news has told people not to burn, they've shut down all the factories and everything and try to keep Hedorah away. I'm sorry, the American version keeps coming in my head. I keep saying Hedorah. Hedorah in my throat. And the Hedorah gets stuck in my throat. So now the news guys are going through the different stages of Hedorah, the underwater tadpole, the slime crawler that goes up on the smokestacks, the flying Hedorah. What's going to be next? We know it's going to be big and bad. We know that. And then again, Ken Mono gets a little, creative here by doing these smash cut videos on different monitors because it's a TV age now, And people complaining and yelling, and you got pictures of Hedorah, you got Godzilla, and pictures of the smog, and pictures of a baby in like a sludge. Not sure why that is, but anyway, there was a cat on the staircase. So the doctor says, okay, it's time to do the experiment. He's out of bed. It's time to do the experiment where I'm going to electrify a little piece of Hedorah and see what happens. So he puts up a nice little copper siding, and he electrifies the area between the two pieces of copper, and the Hedorah dries up, becomes powder, becomes dust.
Looking like, sorry, it looks like a dog turd.
Okay. Yes. I'm sure there's dog turd in there somewhere.
Well, probably.
It's, it's a little bit of everything that we disgusting that we don't want to, there are parts of Hedorah later in the film that look like cow turds, look like, not moon pies. What do they call those?
Cow pies.
Cow pies. Yeah, cow pies. It's true. He's a monster made from shit, basically. He's not just a smog monster, he's a monster. There's an actual Mad Magazine story about that. A monster movie about a creature that comes from the sewers that's made out of shit. It's called Ek. Anyway, I don't know why that popped into my head just now, but they did. So now the news is telling people, okay, we're shutting down the factories. Don't burn anything in your yards. Let's try to keep Hedorah at bay, keep them away. So the military, only a small group of military in this film. No big military in this one. Couldn't afford it. A small contingent of military go out to set up the copper fence, giant copper fence, and set up the electrical equipment to use it. And Yukio and the local teens, local youngsters get together for their love-in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is I don't know how clever this was, but all these scenes of them going out are shot in black and white, or they've been decolorized, because once all the kids started arriving, and somebody says, "Oh, we were expecting millions, but only a few hundred showed up." So, is it Yukio?
Yukio, yeah.
So Yukio, he's playing the guitar, and he jumps up, and boom! Now we have color.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that. I just thought it was day for night shooting. They use filters to make it look darker.
Also, everyone's the band is there playing their instruments. Where's the power coming from? did they tap into the big electric towers that are nearby?
That's
did they
what
bring
went
a
wrong.
generator? Did they?
That's what went wrong.
That's it.
Yeah, because again, they're lighting fires. You know, for like, I mean, if you got power to do the equipment, the musical equipment, why not? You know, some lights.
Exactly.
Set up some lights, darn it. But
no,
no,
they wanted to have a
that
nice bonfire.
that doesn't feed Hedorah. So okay, so they start lighting the fires, and sure enough, like seconds after they light the fires, dinner. Hedorah comes flying in. And he flies by the Yano house, puts Hedorah sludge all over Ken's toys. Luckily, Ken is out there in the love fest by Mount Fuji. The flowers all wither and turn black and die. The fish in the fish tank. This is kind of a nod, I think, to the first Godzilla and the Oxygen Destroyer a little bit. The fish in the fish tank all turn dark and die. And the wife comes in. She's freaking out. You're out of bed. Don't mind the fish. Get back in bed. So then, just as Hedorah starts closing in on them, and Ken sees Godzilla. And Godzilla comes. And Godzilla zaps Hedorah with his powerful atomic breath. Again, it's dark here.
Oh. No, it's the hippie loving, the little boys there, which is, wildly inappropriate. And then
Yes.
and then Hedorah shows up, flying over them.
Yeah. Okay.
And Godzilla
comes.
And then we get Godzilla, yes.
He flies over some of the people, and they die right there in their tracks, as Hedorah does. Luckily, not all of them. So I guess that's what, 50 out of the 100 maybe are dead.
Yeah, at least half, yes.
At least that. Godzilla faces off with Hedorah. Hedorah is now much taller than Godzilla. He's gotten very big. He's grown to a gigantic size. But Godzilla's not intimidated. He's the king of the monsters.
That's right.
So he's, doing that thing. By the way, Haru Nakajima is Godzilla in this. He's Godzilla through the next film, which is Gigan. And then he turns the reins over to somebody else. But he's doing his own kind of thing in this. And of course, he's the one that did the Godzilla dance on, Planet X. So he's game for anything. If you say you want it, he'll do it. Now, here's a weird thing. Hedorah's head splits open, like he's got a headache, like a really bad headache. And a very pulsing red brain starts to stick out of the top of his head. And you're like, well, that's peculiar. Why is that? And he changes. This is his power source, I guess. And he changes. He goes back into flying mode. So now we know. Now we've given an explanation. How does he change from being one Hedorah to the other? He can do that at will. He can transform into his
now he can shoot out laser beams or something out of his eye.
Laser eye. And not only that, but the laser eye makes air pollution that will harm you as well. So he doesn't have to fly over you. He just has to zap you with the laser, and then the air pollution comes with it, and you choke to death. And you're hurting because you got lasered.
Mm.
So that was kind of weird. Oh, there's where he flies over the people, and they die.
Yep.
The half of them that ran to the left, I guess. And then he turns back into giant Hedorah, the impressive Hedorah. Tall Hedorah.
Mm-hmm. And then we get one of the dumbest sequences in this movie. They start lobbing torches at it.
Now, I know we didn't have a scene where the military fought Hedorah. But you should know that a kaiju that size, you're not going to take it down with a torch. Yes, you're correct, Professor. Not smart at all. All of these guys are lobbing torches at Hedorah. Like, that's going to hurt him. He's going to suck him up like, hey, all right, vaping. Yeah. So evidently he burns his toe or something because he gets pissed off enough where he throws sludge at him and he kills him by splattering them with Hedorah toxic sludge, which is like cyanide sludge.
And we lose one of our main characters.
And we lose Yukio. Yukio is no longer with us, folks.
Nope.
Because there's got to be a sacrifice. There's got to be somebody that we care about that dies.
Mm-hmm.
Not true of the Godzilla films. Yes, the James Bond movies, all of them, but not true of this. But Banno decided, hey, we want to have a sacrifice, so we're going to sacrifice Yukio. So Godzilla comes back just before Ken and Miki get it. Godzilla comes back and fires his breath across Hedorah to stop him, and they tussle. They fight. And this is a long fight. Very, very long fight. And here comes the laser eye. And then Godzilla again goes down because he can't breathe. And Hedorah changes into his flying self, picks up Godzilla and flies him to a ready-made giant pit of some kind.
And it's another thing. These people, these older people, they're like these random shots of this group of people looking very creepy.
Yes,
no
looking
explanation
like zombies.
Looking like zombies. No explanation as to who they are, why they're there.
Okay. The first time, they're just watching them have the love fest. Yes, they do 2 shots of this. They watch these kids have the love fest, and you go, okay, it's the local farmers, whatever, the villagers, and they're like, what are these crazy kids doing? Okay, I get it. But then they show them again here. Like, hey, we need some more time. Let's use that shot again. And again, if they were in one place where the kids were having the love fest, why show the shot of them over by the pit, which is probably a mile away? Did all these old villagers run over there to, why is this pit? Why are these 2 creatures? Yeah, this shot makes no sense whatsoever. So anyway, yeah, there it is. So, okay, Hedorah drops Godzilla into a giant pit, cleverly, or conveniently, I should say, ready-made, and he starts sludging on him. He starts to...
he buries him under sludge.
Since we've been talking about scat so much, let's face it, that's Hedorah.
He
He just starts to defecate into the pit. And now you're Godzilla in a pit full of Hedorah shit. And you're rolling around. It's got to smell like hell. You're rolling around in it. Ah, God, no, not this. You're firing your atomic breath in all directions. Oh, God, why? Why me? So, all right. So that's it. Godzilla's going to die, right? Okay, then we cut to a helicopter guy that just comes out of nowhere and starts to drop bombs on Hedorah. Hedorah goes, well, I don't like that. And he zaps him with his laser eye. Now, this guy looks familiar to me, so I'm sure he's been in some of the other Toho films. Although Banno didn't use a lot of the Toho actors in this. He decided he wanted to use a cast of his own, and that was probably the first thing that pissed off, the producers. You don't want to use our people who we've already paid for? So, yeah, he zaps the copter and blows it up. All right. So, in comes the station wagon. It's like Mr. Bean's car, it just looks so out of place. And in the back, there's a nice little bed set up with the professor in it, with the Dr. Toro in it. And the wife is next to him at all times. Okay, I brought you out of the house, and I got a bed in the back of the car, but you got to stay here, okay, honey? She's a very good wife. Terrible mother. Where's Ken? Oh my God, he's right there next to Hedorah.
Exactly. At no time does she inquire, have you seen my son? He's out there all alone. He's out there with
it's okay. He's with Yukio. He's fine.
Oh.
He's with Mr. Fishhead. He's fine. He's with Mickey, that slut. He's great. Wait a minute. She doesn't have a car anymore, does she? I'm sorry. I'm just going off on tangents now. Okay. Somehow, amazingly, this small squad of men, this small battalion, has created two giant, and I mean like billboard-sized copper plates out in the middle of nowhere here. And the plan is to somehow lure Hedorah, who is now a couple miles away fighting Godzilla, through this little alleyway here with these two metal plates, these two copper-coated plates, so that they can hit the juice, electrify him, and dry him out. Watch him crumble. Okay, that's the plan. All right, genius. But the power goes out.
All right. So you mentioned earlier that so we know that
dead.
Godzilla has been buried under goop.
Under
the next
shit.
thing you know, under shit, right? The next
crap.
Shite. The next thing you know.
There you go, shite. That sounds nicer.
Yes. The next thing you know, Godzilla and Hedorah are wrestling.
They're
rolling down the hill, and they crash into one of the power lines, and that's what.
No explanation. None whatsoever how Godzilla got out of the pit, covered in crap. There it is.
Because you don't see any of it on him when they start fighting again.
No, he's not brown or muddy gray. I mean, his eye is mucked up, but other than that, yeah, because Hedorah took out an eye earlier by splattering some Hedorah goop on his face. So anyway, yeah, they take out one of the electrical towers, and yeah, they don't have electricity to run the plates now. Best laid plans of mice and men, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, get it going. Hurry. Hedorah's coming. He's going right exactly where we want him to go. The professor's like, I'm going back to sleep. This is terrible.
Wake me when it's over.
Wake me up when it happens. When Hedorah gets there. So again, seconds later, Hedorah is exactly right there next to the plates. He has come over, and the professor says, use some kind of lights to lure him. So they have these three trucks on the other side, conveniently on the other side, and the three trucks are flashing their headlights. Mm-hmm. And Hedorah's like,
a lot of this was planned. They planned this, that they were going to do this. But my question again is, it's never established that Hedorah is attracted to light.
Yes.
But all of a sudden,
he's attracted to fire and smoke. Yeah.
Yeah. But now he's like, oh,
he does like cars. Car exhaust.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to eat these cars.
Ooh, headlights. Exhaust. So he's moving towards those gold-plated, copper-plated plates. He's doing it. And they're like, he's doing it. Is the power ready? Nope, not yet. What? So they go through all that. And he gets into the middle of the plates, and finally the plates, they light up. And the reason they lit up is because Godzilla hits him with his breath. And that gives it the power to zap back and forth and dry out Hedorah. So he keeps using his atomic breath to zap the panels because they don't have any power. They don't have enough power. Then he reaches in. I'm trying to make this go as fast as possible because this is a really long fight scene. He reaches into Hedorah and he pulls out Hedorah's testicles.
Yes. That's exactly what I thought.
And if it's a woman, he pulls out Hedorah's ovaries.
Did he just pull out Hedorah's bollocks? Are they supposed to be?
It's one or the other, folks. If it's a guy, it's its testicles. If it's a girl, that's his ovaries right there in Godzilla's hands. Godzilla wants to make sure that he does not come back, because this has been a hell of a night for Godzilla. Okay, he does not want this to come back. So he zaps the panels again, make sure everything dries out. The two orbs, I will say nicely, orbs in his hand dry up. But a Hedorah that's inside all the sludge kind of scoots out and flies off. So, okay, folks, are you ready for this? Godzilla, who has never done this before and has never done this since, does a little ballet move, spins around, fires his breath, and flies. He lifts off the ground like he's got a fire extinguisher flying. Have you ever tried that? Flying with a fire extinguisher? No.
I have not. No.
That's the reason this won't work. Anyway, here's the story behind this. Okay. Banno knew that the film was very tense. The mood and everything was very tense. So he wanted to add some comical things to the film to kind of lighten it up a bit. And one of the things he wanted to do was make Godzilla fly by using his atomic breath. And basically everybody fought this at first, said, no, this is not a good idea. We can't do this. Come on. The guys that are in the special effects crew that have been doing Godzilla for a long time said, no, we really shouldn't do this. Even Haru Nakajima was like, I don't know about this. I know I can do a dance on Planet X, but this, I don't know. But Banno said, no, you got to trust me. We got to do this. And obviously they did it. And it wasn't excised from the final cut of the film. Because if they'd have taken it out, nobody would have. I mean, it would have been another one of those points where, wait a minute, how did they get from here to there? Wait a minute. Another one of those jobs. They've already had like 2 or 3 of them in here. So, okay, so Godzilla takes down Hedorah again and proceeds. This was to become a staple in the 70s Godzilla movies. Godzilla will take the creature suit of whoever he was fighting and wham, 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 just kind of sling it around against actually he just beats it against the ground. So again, yeah, he does this with King Ghidorah in the next film. He does it with Megalon in 2 films later. That's the thing. They just take the actor out of the suit and they let the actor playing Godzilla just kind of sling the kaiju around, beating him up. Then he flies him back because, hey, you got to get back to those copper panels. And they've got the power going now, but it's like not enough power. It's not so good. So Godzilla gives a look to the people and is like, really? Really? And he uses his atomic breath again to light everything up. I got to do everything? I can do all this? Jeez. So, yeah, he dries up Hedorah again. He's dried up the inside of Hedorah now, and Hedorah's eye closes. We know he's dead now because his eye closes. When General Howitzer and his group talked about this film, and they talked about it with a guy named Unite Godzilla Fans, John, from not IMDb, Instagram. From Instagram. He's got like 25,000 followers on Instagram. I'm going to give him a nod here. He pointed out that Hedorah's eyes look like vaginas, which I thought it was hysterical. And it's so true. Why? So his eye closing is symbolic. Took my ovaries. And I think Hedorah's a girl. I really do. And yeah, he's dried out this time. And Godzilla, just to make sure, starts tearing him apart and throwing him all over the place. He slings a piece of Hedorah here, slings a piece of Hedorah there, all over the place, and then lights it up again, just to make sure that every little tiny piece of Hedorah is done. And it's done. He dries it out. and then looks over at the military guys. We get a nice little comic takeaway from there. And he looks over at the doctor and his wife and the other guy that's working the control panel. And they're like, nah. And then he walks off. He turns around and walks off. And this, again, was going to be something was going to continue on through the Godzilla films, through the end of the Showa series. Godzilla just walks off into the sunset, basically. Instead of dropping him in the ocean, he's going to walk off in the sunset. And some character's going to come out and wave goodbye to him and say, goodbye, Godzilla, sayonara! And, of course, it's Ken in this film. And he turns around one brief time, looking at Ken and Mickey, and there's a guy with glasses there, a military guy. I don't know where he came from. He just shows up out of nowhere. The military people are miles away. But he's there. He's like, oh, you guys survived the Levin? Really?
Yeah, at no time. Exactly, at no time. The mom or nobody's, well, please, go search my son. No, nothing.
That scene was cut.
I guess so.
Hey, if Ken is on the phone with his dad and there's a big explosion and he doesn't answer and his dad goes to watch TV, come on. Oh, he's fine. He'll be fine. He's Ken. Ken's indestructible. Ken knows Godzilla personally.
We're getting some interesting comments from somebody.
All right.
Queen Glamazona says the director of Godzilla vs. Hedorah was insane.
He was. Never directed another Godzilla film ever.
Why couldn't Godzilla fly?
Well, and here's the thing: is why didn't they double down and just make Godzilla fly in the later films? Like, we did a film. We did Gigan, or they did Gigan, I should say, on the General Howitzer's Big Monster Briefing Room, and it takes forever for Godzilla and Anguirus to swim to Tokyo, to swim to Japan from Monster Island. Why didn't Godzilla just pick up Anguirus and fly? But no, they were like, no, this is too embarrassing. We're never doing it again. But he could have flown first class. They should have doubled down. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to do something stupid and silly, just go with it. Just don't admit you're embarrassed. Don't lose face. Just hey, we meant to do that, and we're going to do it again. So anyway, that's what's so embarrassing about it is everybody says, "Oh, it was so embarrassing. It was so terrible." So yeah, here we get the Shane. Come back, Shane. Come back, Godzilla. Don't go. I want to play with you, even though you're radioactive. I'm radioactive. I'm radioactive. Goodbye, Godzilla. And off he goes. And then we get a little cute, ending. Is it the end? Bano fully believed that his movie was fantastic and they were going to make a sequel, another Hedorah film. They were going to have Hedorah return. And it never happened because Tomoyuki Tanaka absolutely hated this movie, thought it was the death of the series. But as we all know, Godzilla vs. Gigan came back. They got back to the basics of Godzilla. They were able to do it on a small budget like this one. There was no message, about pollution or what have you in it, or at least it was thinly veiled. It was very small. And there was no graphic deaths in any Godzilla films after this. That I can recall. So there it is. Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. Again, because it is so different, I kind of like it. There are people that say, oh, this is one of my favorite Godzilla films. There's a lot about this film that just doesn't work, obviously. We've gone through all of that. But, to get drunk and watch something mindless and silly, yeah, go ahead, do it. Pull a Yukio and drop a tab. No, I didn't advocate that. Drink some beer, your legal drug, and and watch it. Have fun. It's a silly film, as Monty Python would say. I did that one for you, Anastasia. Any comments?
Yes, we're getting comments right now on the screen.
Who will be your next guest? Yeah, unfortunately, we could not get Kaiju Combat to come on the show as advertised. Ramon had a bad thing happen this past week, and he's not feeling great. And that's all I'm going to say. Let the man have his privacy, and we'll see him again soon, I hope. Our next guest is probably going to be George Morgan from Japan. He's going to come join us in a couple of weeks. I think he's going to come join us for Megalon and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, 1974. So those are his favorite films, that and Terror of Mechagodzilla. So he might join us for all three of those and end up the season with us. We only have 4 shows left, I think, right? Yeah. We've got Gigan next time, and then Megalon, then Mechagodzilla, the original, and then Terror of Mechagodzilla. And that's it for this season, 25 episodes. Thank you for watching. If you have missed some of our shows, the other 20 shows, look them up on YouTube. We've done all of your Godzilla films and even some like Rodan and Mothra and some of the other films from Toho. We're trying to do all the Toho Kaiju films from beginning to end. We've done Varan. We've done a lot of shows. We've done 20 shows already. So tune in. And if you haven't seen them live, go watch them in post. They're fun shows. We had a fun time on this one. Mm-hmm. This was such a silly movie. It really was. It was a lot to have fun with. So
we have a question. Before we go, we have a question from our guest here. It says, weren't the cockroach aliens in Godzilla versus Gigan from a planet that was destroyed by population? I think they meant to say pollution.
Pollution.
But yes.
Yes, the Hunter Nebula something. 5, Hunter Nebula 7, whatever.
7, I believe, yes.
Yeah, their planet, they were the rulers of their planet because it was destroyed by pollution and they were able to thrive. So Hedorah goes in, pollutes up the planet, and then these guys show up.
maybe that's it. Maybe
they work together.
Maybe Hedorah was from that planet and came to
and sometimes they get like Gigan and Ghidorah to go destroy a planet, so they can go and wreak havoc, or they can go live like king cockroaches. So we're doing that one next week on this show, Gigan. So tune in for that. Again, you'll find out what we find interesting and strange about that movie right here on Roland's Kaiju Review. What do we got here? One more.
The footage in Godzilla vs. Gigan was from Hedorah.
That movie used a lot of footage from previous films, yes. Yeah. The pollution footage was used from this one. A lot of stuff from Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, when they show Ghidorah attacking. Ghidorah. King Ghidorah. And they even use like War of the Gargantua with Mazer stuff from War of the Gargantua. They use a lot of footage in that one. That one was really on an ultra low budget. Yeah. So they had to shoot stuff that didn't have a lot of buildings to destroy, and they had to shoot stuff quickly, and they had to use a lot of stock footage. Same problem with Mechagodzilla, the first Mechagodzilla. They basically created the suit. A lot of the fight stuff happens out in the country with King Caesar, and it's in Okinawa. So that saves a lot of money. It wasn't until Terror of Mechagodzilla when they decided this is going to be the last one for a while that they put more budget into the film, and they were able to get Akira Ifukube back to do the music. They were able to get Yoshihiro Honda to direct. They were able to get back all the stars that were in the previous films. That was when they had a budget. And the same thing with Destroy All Monsters. When they had Destroy All Monsters come out, they said this is going to be the last one for a while. We're going to give you a big budget. But yeah, these next 3, next 2, pretty low budget. Yeah, and that makes a difference in the film. It does. All right. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Do watch General Howitzer's Big Monster Reaping Room on Thursdays, same time. I think they are doing The Deadly Mantis, which is a great film, on Thursday. After that, at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Pacific, there is No Icing. Next week on Monday, two guys and a gal talking movies are going to talk about the later James Bond films, post Sean Connery, Roger Moore. So it's the Timothy Dalton films, the Pierce Brosnan films, the Daniel Craig films.
Right.
All in one show. That's going to be a long show, I think. And we'll see you next week for Godzilla versus Gigan.
Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. Thanks.